Welcome back. We move on to other news now. So Prince Mampuru Sekwati says patriarchy has played a major role in the opposition to the appointment of Queen Manyaku Thulare. After intense succession battles, which lasted for decades, the Bapedi tribe in Limpopo are now under the leadership of Queen Thulare, whose position as the regent was endorsed by the Limpopo High Court. The provincial government says the Bapedi kingship, under the guidance of acting Queen Thulare, is poised to play an important role in uniting its people and driving development in the kingdom and beyond. Now, Prince Mampuru Sekwati from the Sekhukhune royal house says patriarchy has become a pandemic in that province.
There's this general pandemic that is developing in the province, where when a woman has to ascend to a leadership position, there's resistance. Male figures will even go and hire a donkey just to put in that position of power, just to block a woman from ascending to a position of power.
Right, well, let's now hear from the other side now. A faction of the Royal Council, which appointed Prince Mora Mohube Ernest Thulare, who is the former king's half-brother and her stepson, and the queen's stepson, rather, as acting king at the tribal meeting in Mohlaletse, Sekhukhune. To talk to us about this, I'm joined by the spokesperson to Prince Mora Mohube Thulare, Mr. Makoko Sekhukhune. Mr. Sekhukhune, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to start with the reaction to Prince Mampuru's comments when he sat here in studio with me saying there is a pandemic of patriarchy that refuses to see women take traditional leadership. What do you say to that?
Good evening, madam. How are you?
I'm well, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Your response?
Yeah, I've heard him saying whatever he has said, but maybe let me start by saying, as we are law-abiding citizens, there is no victory for Manyaku because she was litigating a law. The history of this matter is opposite, so you understand the case in its context. The Limpopo High Court, the Judge President Makoko, as he then was dismissed Manyaku's application to be declared Queen of the Bapedi Nation. She lodged an appeal in the Supreme Court of Appeal, and on the date of hearing, she fired her legal representatives. In our view, this was just her strategy to delay the process so she can find a forum in the Limpopo High Court favorable to her. Indeed, she launched and expired the application in the Limpopo High Court without notifying us, seeking a relief that she be declared the
Yes,
Queen.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I'm listening, Mr. Sekhukhune. Go ahead.
I have not studied law, but it is so surprising that the current judge president can overturn the judgment of his predecessor, knowing very well that the Supreme Court of Appeal still has the matter, still has to hear the matter. Fortunately, the Supreme Court of Appeal has given us the date of hearing in Bloemfontein as per instruction from our lawyers to say we are confident that the court will rule in our favor.
Yeah.
We are just hoping that the Manyaku will not apply her delaying tactics again. Her victory, if she claims it, is short-lived and the truth will prevail.
Okay. Mr. Sekhukhune, if I can ask you just to step a little bit back from the camera, because now we're seeing half of your face. So thank you so much for that. That looks great. I want to get into perhaps some of the family relationships here and really the council's position on why she should not be queen. So I think that really important, right? So who you would then put forward, why and why not Queen Manyaku?
Yes, madam. It's not a matter of people denying her to be the queen of the Bapedi Nation. It's a matter of who is responsible and who is obviously having that right to become the king. After the demise of our late king, Victor Thulare, she convened a meeting, urgently so. We gathered there at the kraal, and the decision taken that by the royal family to say that in terms of the customary law and also the Queen Act, we said, let's follow the culture. Then Prince Moramokhube was identified as the person who will be able to be the seed raiser after having married the candle wife. So she cannot contest her son, because if that was to be her case, she would have done that by the time when her husband was still alive. After her husband passed away, then she was supposed to have taken that position. Why there later after after her son passed away? It's ridiculous, and in our culture, it's an anomaly.
Okay, and I think it's important for us not to take for granted that the viewer would understand the family relationships here. So Prince Moramokhube, his relation to Queen Manyaku, he's her stepson. And so, am I correct in saying? Okay, so if he is,
you're correct.
So if he is her stepson, there is of course the question of the bloodline and who then, according to bloodline, would need to take that position. Explain that to us. And so, is the argument then that Queen Manyaku simply is not of the bloodline?
No, in terms of the bloodline, the one who comes after the late king is our Prince Moramokhube Thulare. He's a younger brother to the late king. That is the customary way of the Bapedi nation. We cannot go back because we are going forward. So the kingship doesn't go back, it goes forward.
Okay. And so Queen Manyaku, not of royal blood because she married into the family. Is that the big discussion here?
As you call her the Queen Mother, her role was just to give birth to the king. And of course, she did that. But unfortunately, because the king managed to ascend the throne for a short period of time. Now, in our culture, we are supposed to take his younger brother to come and bear an heir to the throne on his behalf. So what can she do as she's just old as she is? And obviously, it is also a taboo to say, how can the mother become the one who will be responsible to give birth to a king? It's just very ridiculous and very, very taboo.
Then why, Mr. Sekhukhune, do you believe that she would have been recognized even by government?
Come again?
Why do you think that she would then have been recognized by government?
It is our culture. The role of the government is just to affirm what the royal family has identified. In terms of our culture, it is only the prince who is accountable to become the person in case, because we were talking of the bloodline here. So in terms of the bloodline, it's only the person who is so closer to the late king. So the mother cannot become closer to the late king because she is obviously as old as she is, obvious. We cannot talk of giving birth to whatever we.
I'm keen to hear your views on some of the plans that she says she has for the Bapedi nation. She's talked about the land, which the people of Sekhukhune dwell on is arable, making it suitable. In fact, those are the words of the Prime Minister, making it arable for agriculture to flourish. And then there's these plans to build what they've said. We heard from Prince Mampuru Sekwati when he was here in the studio with us, plans to build a smart city. What do you make of those plans? Do you support them?
Before even I could respond about what you are saying, let's not talk of the development before the kingship is settled in its rightful place. It is not her role to develop the kingdom, because obviously the kingdom should not be related to politics. Once you speak about Ramatlhodi, it's just an intruder in a way. So we will not even want to comment much about him, because really, as a Bapedi nation, he does not belong here. And obviously, he will never be the prime minister for the Bapedi nation. It's also very, very, very challenging to hear in a short space of time that he has been appointed prime minister of the Bapedi Kingdom. So in our area, we have huge number of people who are very capable of administration in terms of the customary law. Why should just people go outside and hire somebody to come, and maybe their mission was so very simple, because they talk of the development, and every time when they speak, the first word becomes mine. So we are obvious that aware that they are here to milk the remaining resources of the Bapedi Kingdom. If you see around, if you are living around our place here, day in, day out, the trucks are moving all out. All resources are being taken away so that the land will remain whole as it is. They talk of development, but what is it that they're supposed to do? Look, I don't want to dwell much on Ramatlhodi. I want to talk much about the kingdom, who is responsible, who is obviously relevant to ascend the throne in terms of our culture. Is our Prince Makoko Thulare.
And in that mission, then, what then is the next step, sir?
Come again?
What then is the next step for the council in really that focus on wanting to I suppose, have who you believe is agreeable to ascend the throne? What is the next step that you take?
No, the next step that you're supposed to take, our case is in Supreme Court of Appeal. And that case there is supposed to rule out who is in favor of Manyaku or whoever, but the case is in the Supreme Court of Appeal. And we are also having been taken by herself there. Why should she come back and sneak and come and say, I want to claim the queenship here, when the case is before the Supreme Court of Appeal?
It's interesting that we see these matters going to the courts, and I wonder when last there was the two sides sitting in one room and what that interaction would have looked like, Mr. Sekhukhune.
No, we have never sat in one room. We have never, because the case was dealt in ex parte. We were not informed. We were not informed. We were not consulted. We only hear when she was being given certificate, and this to us, the province, the judge has instructed the premier to issue certificates to her. That was just a pre-planned item, because it is followed by appointment of the old man Ramatlhodi.
Okay, final one. And I think, we talk a lot about what's happening at the top, but the nation of Bapedi obviously watching all of this unfold. Your message to them as we close off our chat, sir?
The message to Bapedi nation, I'm saying to them that just relax. Much is not very far. Then the Supreme Court of Appeal will deal with this case, and of course in an amicable way. There is no way, because the judge president there, Makoko, ruled in favor of our Prince Makoko. Obviously, the other judges could not turn the case other way around.
Yeah, thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. Makoko.
Because he followed the procedure and also the customary law of the Bapedi nation.
All right. Well, we'll be watching closely and awaiting March as well. So we'll be following up and getting updates on the story so that we bring the Bapedi nation up to speed as well. Mr. Makoko Sekhukhune, who is the spokesperson there for Prince Makoko Sekhukhune.